Our next tale concerns a man whom we shall simply call the Traveller.
Hello, below there!
When the signalman heard this man's voice calling to him, he was standing by the track with the flag furled in his hand. But instead of looking up to where the traveller stood on top of the steep cutting, he turned and looked down the railway line. There was something remarkable in the way he did this, though what exactly the traveller could not say.
Hello, below there! I say, is there some way by which I may come down and speak to you?
Just then, there came a vibration in the earth and air, quickly changing to a violent pulsation. An oncoming rush caused the traveller to start back, as though it had enough force to draw him down. When the train had passed, the traveller looked down again and saw the man refurling his flag.
I say, is there some way by which I may come down? Oh, all right, I see.
The traveller found a ladder which descended sharply down the steep cutting and through a clammy stone that became oozier and wetter the further he went down. As he stepped out upon the railway, he saw that the man's post was in as solitary and dismal a place as ever he had seen. On either side, a dripping wet wall of jagged stone, excluding all view but a strip of sky. In one direction the track seemed to go on forever, in the other it terminated in a gloomy red light, and the gloomier entrance to a black tunnel, in whose massive architecture there was a barbarous, depressing and forbidding air. So little sunlight ever found its way to this spot that it had an earthy, deadly smell, and so much cold wind rushed through it that it chilled the traveller to the bone, as if he had left the natural world.
This is a lonesome place to occupy. A visitor is a rarity, I suppose, but not an unwelcome one, I hope. You look at me as if you had a dread of me.
I thought I might have seen you before.
Where? There?
Yes.
My dear fellow, what should I do there? But be that as it may, I never was there, you may swear upon it.
Yes, I think I may. Yes, I'm sure I may.
And the quaint old signalman began at last to relax in the traveller's company.
Yes, I do have plenty of responsibility down here, sir, but in the form of watchfulness and excitement, if you take my meaning, of actual work, manual labour, I has next to none. All I has to do is change that signal and trim those lights.
But is it not lonely down here for hours on end?
Oh, I've got used to the routine, sir. I taught myself a language down here, if only by sight, and have formed my own crude ideas of its pronunciation, if that could be called learning it.
But is it never possible for you to leave this channel of dark, dank stuff? Is it never possible for you to go up to the sunlight between these damp stone walls?
In bright weather, I do choose occasions, forgetting a little above these dark shadows, but being mindful at all times that I could be called by my electric bell, the relief is not as great as you might imagine. Come, join me in my cabin.
And the signalman told him in a quiet, grey voice of how, as a young lad, he had once attended lectures on natural philosophy, but had soon run wild, misused his opportunities, of which he had had several, and had gone down in life, never to rise again.
I make no complaints about it, sir. I've made my bed and here I lies. It's far too late to make another.
During this confession, He was interrupted once by the bell and had to read off a message and send him to his wife. In the discharge of his duties, the traveller observed him to be remarkably exact and vigilant, breaking off his discourse at a syllable and remaining silent until what he had to do was done. The traveller should have set this man down as one of the safest of employees, but for the circumstance that while he was speaking to him, he once broke off with a fallen colour, turned his face toward the little bell when it did not ring, opened the door of the hut, which was kept shut to exclude the unhealthy damp, and looked out fearfully towards the red light near the mouth of the tunnel.
Well, you almost make me think I had met with a contented man.
I'm afraid the traveller said that to lead him on.
I believe I might have been so, but I'm troubled, sir. I'm troubled.
With what exactly?
It's very difficult to speak of it, sir. If ever you come pay me a visit again, I'll try to tell you.
But I expressly intend to make you another visit. Now, when shall it be?
I'm off early in the morning, and I shall be on again at 10 tomorrow night, sir.
Then I shall come at 11.
Thank you. I've shown my light, sir, until you found your way up. And then when you're at the top, please don't call out.
Very well.
And when you come down again tomorrow night, please don't call out either. Let me ask you a parting question. What made you cry "Hallo below" there tonight?
Well, heaven knows, I said words to that effect.
And not to that effect, sir. Those were the very words. I knows them well.
Yes, well, I admit those were the very words I used. I said them, I expect, because I saw you here below.
For no other reason.
My dear fellow, what other reason could I have?
They weren't conveyed to you in any supernatural way?
No.
And the signalman, wishing him good night, the traveller walked by the side of the rails, with a very disagreeable sensation of a train coming behind him, until he found the ladder. It was easier to mount than to descend, and he got back to his inn without any mishap.
I did not call out. May I speak now?
By all means, sir.
And with that they walked to his box, entered it, sat down by the fire.
I've made up my mind, sir, that you shall never again have to ask me what troubles me. I took you for someone else yesterday evening.
Who?
I don't know.
Someone like me?
I don't know, I never seen the face. The left arm were across it, and the right arm would wave, violently wave, like this.
As if to say, clear the way.
One moonlit night, I was sitting in here when I heard a voice cry, "Hallo below there." I got up, and I looked out the door, and I saw this someone else standing under the red light, waving as I just showed you. Well, His voice was hoarse, was shouting. And he cried, "Look out! Look out!" And then, "Hello, below there! Look out!" Well, I picked up my lamp, I switched it on to red, and I ran out towards the figure shouting, "What's wrong? What's happened?" It was standing just outside the blackness of the tunnel, with its sleeve over its eyes. I ran right up to it and had my hand stretched out to pull the sleeve away. Well, when it were gone.
Into the tunnel?
No, I ran into the tunnel, 500 yards. Then I stopped and held my lamp above my head and saw nothing but wet stains stealing down the walls. I ran out of there faster than I'd run in, for I had a sudden abhorrence of the place. I looked all round the red light with my red light, and then I went up the iron ladder to the gallery atop it, and I came down again and came back in here. I telegraphed both ways. An alarm has been given. Is anything wrong? The answer came back, both ways, all well.
Resisting the slow touch of a frozen finger tracing out his spine, the traveller told him that this figure must have been a deception of his sense of sight.
As to the imagined cry, do but listen for a while to the wind in this unnatural valley and the wild harp it makes of the telegraph wires.
That's all very well, sir, but I ought to know something about the wind and the wires, having passed many a long winter's night in here, alone and watching. And anyway, I've not finished my story yet.
Beg your pardon.
Within 6 hours of the appearance came that dreadful accident on this liner. I'm sure you remember it, sir. It were in all the papers. And then within 10 hours, the dead and the wounded were brought through the tunnel over the exact spot where the figure had stood.
A disagreeable shudder crept over the traveller, which he did his best to ignore.
It must be admitted that this is a remarkable coincidence.
But I have yet to finish my story. This were exactly a year ago. 6 or 7 months passed, and I'd recovered from the shock and the surprise when one morning at daybreak I looked out and I saw the spectre again.
Did it cry out?
No,
Did it wave its arm?
no, it leant up against the shaft of light with both hands over the face, like this.
It looks to me like an act of mourning. I have seen such carvings in stone on tombs. I believe they are called weeping angels. Did you go up to it?
No, I came back in here and sat down, partly to collect my thoughts, and partly because I was faint. When I went to the door again, daylight were above me, and the ghosts were gone.
But nothing followed? Nothing came of it?
That very day, a train came through the tunnel, and I saw at the carriage windows nearer to me what looked like a confusion of heads and hands, and some waved. I was just in time to signal the driver, "Stop!" Well, he shut down, and he put on his brake, but the train drifted away from here about 150 yards. But I ran after it, and as I went, I heard these terrible screams and cries. A beautiful young lady had died instantaneously in one of the compartments and were brought back in here and laid down on this floor between us.
The traveller could think of nothing to say, and his mouth was suddenly very dry.
Now mark this, sir, and judge how my mind is troubled. The spectre came back a week ago.
At the light.
At the danger line.
What did it seem to do?
It gesticulates like this, as if to say, for God's sake, clear the way. I has no peace. It calls to me for many minutes at a time in an anguished voice. Below there, look out, look out. It stands waving to me. It rings the bell.
Did it ring the bell yesterday evening when I was here?
It did.
Then your senses mistake you. For my eyes were on the bell, and my ears were open to the bell. And as I am a living man, the bell did not ring at that time. No, nor at any other, save for the time with your station communicating with you in the normal manner of events.
I've never made a mistake as to that yet, sir. I've never confused the spectre's ring for a man's. The ghost's ring is a strange vibration in the air that it derives from nothing else. I'm not surprised you failed to hear it. But I heard it.
And did the spectre seem to be there when you looked out?
It were there!
Will you come with me to the door now to look for it?
The signalman bit his lip as though he were somewhat unwilling, but arose. The traveller opened the door and stood on the step, while he stood in the doorway. There was the danger light. There was the dismal mouth of the tunnel. There were the high, wet stone walls of the cutting. There were the stars above them.
Do you see it?
No, it's not there. Why now, sir, you will understand that what troubles me so dreadfully is the question, what does the spectre mean?
I don't understand.
What's its warning against? What's the danger? Where's the danger? There's danger overhanging somewhere on the line. There's sure to be another calamity after this third time. But what can I do? If I telegraph danger, I got no reason for it. I should get into trouble. Won't it do no good? They'll think I were mad. Message. Danger. Take care. Answer. What danger? Where? Message. I don't know. But for God's sake, take care. They'll displace me. There's nothing else they can do.
I think
when I first stood under the danger line, why didn't he tell me where that accident were to happen? If it must happen. How I could avert it. If it could be averted. When on its second coming, it hid its face. Why not tell me she's going to die? Let them keep her at home. If it came on both those occasions, only to show me that its warnings were true, and to prepare me for the third, why not tell me plainly now? And I, Lord help me, a mere poor signalman on this solitary station. Why not go to someone with credit to be believed compelled to act.
Seeing the signalman in this nervous state, the traveller attempted to compose his mind, as much for his sake as for the sake of the other public. Once the man was calm, the traveller, whose offer of staying the night had been firmly refused, reluctantly stood up and left the cabin. It was 2 in the morning. He did not like to leave him, but what else could he do? Next evening, the traveller found himself at the top of the deep cutting as the sun was setting. He stepped to the brink and mechanically looked down. I cannot adequately describe the chill that seized upon him when, close to the mouth of the tunnel, he saw the appearance of a man with his left sleeve across his eyes, passionately waving his right arm. With an irresistible sense that something was wrong, he descended the ladder with all the speed he could make.
What's happened here?
Signalman killed, sir.
Not the man I know.
Aye, sir.
The man from that I know.
Oh, you'll recognise him if you knew him.
Tell me what has happened.
He was cut down by a train, sir. Well, there wasn't a man in England who was judged better. But somehow, he wasn't clear of the outer rail. It was broad daylight. He'd quenched the lamp and had his lamp in his hand. Well, as the train came up the tunnel, he had his back to her. And she cut him down. Well, this man drove her. He was just showing us how it happened. Show the man, Tom.
As I was coming around the curve of the tunnel, sir, I saw him at the end of it. It was like I was looking the wrong way down the telescope. There was no time to check my speed, so I blew the whistle, but he just didn't seem to hear it. So I shut it off just as he was running down on him. I just called out to him as loud as I could call.
What did you say?
Below there! Look out! Look out! For God's sake, clear the way! It was dreadful, sir. I never left off calling to him. In the end, I had to put this arm in front of my eyes so I didn't have to see the dreadful impact, and I just waved the other one like this, but it was no use.
And the traveller's blood ran cold in his veins.